Most people think of real estate billionaires and picture Donald Trump or luxury Manhattan penthouses. But the real giants aren't in America. They're in China. They built entire cities from nothing. They constructed towers that house millions. They turned dirt into the largest real estate empire in human history. And most Westerners have never heard their names. These are the Chinese real estate tycoons, the men who literally built modern China and became some of the richest people on earth. The country that built a century in decades. To understand Chinese real estate tycoons, you need to understand China's transformation. In 1978, China was poor. The average person earned less than $200 per year. Most people lived in rural villages. Cities were small, crowded, and underdeveloped. Then Deng Xiaoping opened China to market reforms. He declared to get rich is glorious. What happened next was the fastest urbanization in human history. Between 1980 and 2020, over 500 million Chinese people moved from villages to cities. That's like moving the entire population of the United States and Europe combined in just 40 years. China needed housing, millions of apartments, thousands of buildings, entire cities built from scratch. And a small group of entrepreneurs saw the opportunity of a lifetime. The pioneer, Wang Jianlin. Wang Jianlin was born in 1954 in Sichuan province. Today, he's worth over 20 billion and built Dalian Wanda Group, one of China's largest real estate and entertainment conglomerates. But Wang didn't start in real estate. He started in the military. Wang served in the People's Liberation Army for 17 years. He learned discipline, strategy, and how to navigate China's political system. In 1988, at age 34, Wang left the military and took over a small, struggling real estate company in Dalian called Shigang Residential Development Company. The company was nearly bankrupt. It had old Soviet-style buildings nobody wanted. Wang saw potential. He rebranded the company as Wanda Group and started building modern residential buildings with better design and quality. By the 1990s, Wanda was growing fast. Wang expanded beyond housing into commercial real estate shopping malls, office towers, hotels. His strategy was simple: build massive mixed-use developments that combined apartments, retail, offices, and entertainment. By 2013, Wang Jianlin was the richest person in China, worth over 30 billion. But Wang didn't stop at real estate. He went global. In 2012, Wanda bought AMC Theaters, the second largest cinema chain in America, for $2.6 billion. In 2016, Wanda bought Legendary Entertainment, the Hollywood studio behind movies like The Dark Knight and Jurassic World, for $3.5 billion. Wang declared, "We're not just building buildings, we're building a global entertainment empire." But then China's government cracked down. In 2017, Chinese regulators began investigating Wanda's overseas investments. They accused Wang of moving too much money out of China. Wang was forced to sell billions in assets. His net worth crashed from 30 billion to around 10 billion. A financial analyst said, "Wang learned the hard way. In China, you can get rich, but the Communist Party still controls everything." Today, Wang has scaled back. Wanda still operates but focuses on China. Wang himself has retreated from the spotlight. The quiet giant, Xu Jiayin, also known as Hui Kayan, was born in 1958 in Henan province, one of China's poorest regions. Today, at 66 years old, his net worth has fluctuated wildly, once worth over 40 billion, now reportedly near zero after the collapse of his company. But Xu's rise was legendary. Xu grew up in extreme poverty. His mother died when he was young. His father was too poor to feed him. Xu survived on government food assistance. Xu studied at Wuhan University and became an engineer at a steel factory. But engineering didn't pay well. In 1992, during China's real estate boom, Xu quit his job and moved to Shenzhen, where he joined a small property development company. By 1996, Xu had learned the business. He founded his own company, Evergrande Group. Evergrande started small, building affordable housing in second-tier cities where competition was low. But Xu's strategy was aggressive: build fast, sell fast, use the money to build more. By the 2000s, Evergrande was one of China's largest developers. It built massive residential complexes, thousands of apartments in single developments. Evergrande didn't just build homes. It built schools, hospitals, and shopping centers. Entire neighborhoods designed to attract middle-class families. Xu became obsessed with scale. By 2017, Evergrande was building over 800 projects simultaneously across China. At his peak in 2017, Xu was worth 43 billion, the richest person in China. But Shu's empire was built on debt. Evergrande borrowed billions to fund construction, betting that sales would cover loans. The model worked as long as housing prices kept rising. But when China's government cracked down on real estate speculation in 2020, everything collapsed. Evergrande couldn't pay its debts. The company owed over $300 billion, making it the most indebted company in the world. By 2021, Evergrande was in default. Construction stopped. Buyers lost deposits. Investors panicked. Shu's net worth evaporated. He went from $43 billion to nearly nothing. In 2023, Chinese authorities detained Shu under investigation. Evergrande filed for bankruptcy protection. A financial analyst concluded, Shu's story is a warning. He built an empire on debt and speculation. When the music stopped, it all came crashing down. The survivor, Yang Huiyan, was born in 1981 in Guangdong province. Today, at 43 years old, she's worth over $20 billion and is one of the richest women in the world. But Yang didn't build her empire. She inherited it and then had to save it. Yang's father, Yang Guochang, founded Country Garden, one of China's largest real estate developers. In 2007, Yang Guochang transferred most of his shares to his daughter Yang Huiyan before Country Garden went public. She was 25 years old. Overnight, Yang Huiyan became the richest woman in China, but she didn't ask for it. She was studying in America when her father made her a billionaire. Yang returned to China and joined Country Garden. She worked quietly behind the scenes, learning the business. Country Garden's strategy was different from competitors. Instead of focusing on expensive cities like Beijing and Shanghai, Country Garden built in smaller cities where land was cheap. The company built massive developments in entire towns, with thousands of apartments, schools, shops, and parks. By 2018, Country Garden was selling more homes than any developer in the world. But like Evergrande, Country Garden relied heavily on debt. When China's real estate market crashed, Country Garden struggled. In 2023, Country Garden defaulted on bond payments. The company teetered on the edge of collapse. Yang's net worth crashed from over $30 billion to around $5 billion. But unlike Shu Jiayin, Yang has tried to save the company. She's negotiated with creditors, sold assets, and restructured debt. A real estate analyst said, Yang inherited a giant and now has to save it. She didn't create the problems, but she's stuck fixing them. The system that created them all. Chinese real estate tycoons didn't succeed just because they were smart. They succeeded because of China's unique system. In China, all land is owned by the government. Developers can't buy land. They lease it from the government for 70 years. Local governments fund themselves by selling land leases. The more expensive the land, the more money they make. This created a cycle. Governments sold land, developers built apartments, buyers took out mortgages, prices rose, and governments sold more land. An economist explained China's economy became addicted to real estate. At its peak, real estate represented 30% of China's GDP. Developers borrowed massive amounts to buy land and build. Banks lent freely because government officials pressured them to support growth. But the system had a flaw. It depended on rising prices. If prices stopped rising, the whole system collapsed, and that's exactly what happened. The crash that changed everything in 2020, China's government declared war on real estate speculation. They introduced the 3 red lines policy rules, limiting how much debt developers could carry. The goal was to cool the overheated market and prevent a bubble. But the policy backfired catastrophically. Developers like Evergrande and Country Garden, which relied on debt to fund projects, suddenly couldn't borrow. Without new loans, they couldn't finish buildings. Without finished buildings, they couldn't sell apartments. Without sales, they couldn't repay debts. The dominoes fell fast. By 2023, dozens of major Chinese developers had defaulted. Millions of apartments sat unfinished. Buyers who paid deposits lost their money. A Chinese home buyer who lost her life savings said, "I paid for an apartment that was never finished. The developer went bankrupt. I have nothing." The crisis destroyed trillions in wealth. Billionaire developers saw their fortunes evaporate. An international economist warned China's real estate crisis is the biggest economic threat in the world. If it spreads, it could trigger a global recession. The legacy of concrete and steel Chinese real estate tycoons built modern China. They housed hundreds of millions. They created jobs for tens of millions. They transformed cities and lifted a nation, but they also built an empire on debt and speculation. They believed prices would rise forever. They were wrong. Wang Jianlin, once the richest man in China, learned that even billionaires answer to the Communist Party. Xu Jiayin built the largest real estate company in the world and watched it collapse into bankruptcy. Yang Huiyan inherited billions and now fights to save her family's legacy. From poverty to palaces, from villages to skyscrapers, from triumph to crisis. That's the story of Chinese real estate tycoons, the men and women who built the world's cities and learned that even concrete empires can crumble. If you enjoyed learning about the Chinese real estate tycoons who built modern China and became some of the richest people on earth, let us know who we should uncover next. The greatest empires are built on land, debt, and ambition, and their stories reveal the future of global economics.